I'd like to tell a story of a young lady that I'm really proud of, how the decision that she made. I'll call her A. She was a student in my class 3 years ago when I taught classical conversations, homeschool group, once a week. And I really like to get involved in my students' lives, and so I know how to pray for them, how to influence them as much as possible, and just pray that they'll meet God and that they'll know God and make Him known. That's the theme of classical conversations. So anyway, she was a very bright student, memorized the material like very quickly, very sharp, amazing, a lot of fun to have in class, very artistic, And the next year she was not in my class, but she was in Joanna's afternoon grammar class called Essentials. And in that class, the students read a story each week that they've written. And A always read, I had a paper ready to go, and it was well written and well done and everything. Well, once I had heard her speak about her desire to be in the military, and one week she read this paper, and at the end she was saying, "And I want to join the army, and I want to fight for my country," and just these strong proclamations like, "I'm willing to die for my country," and just very heartfelt, very emotional. And some of the other moms whose husbands are in the military stood up and applauded for her, and were like, "Yeah, that's great." Talking to her afterwards, like, "Well, we're so proud of you." Well, that concerned me on several levels, and I'll get into that a little bit more. But why should this young lady want to go join the military? And I asked her mom because I wanted to know where her parents stood at. And her mom said, her dad and I are not interested in having her do that. We're just hoping that it'll go by the wayside. And I thought to myself, well, she is 13, 14, but sometimes those feelings run really deep and they don't just go away. So I gave her a book, Brother Andrew, his autobiography, called God's Smuggler. It's a really awesome book if you haven't read it, God's Smuggler. And it talks about how he became a Christian when he had fought in a war and killed a bunch of people, and he just had all this guilt and how horrible it was, the things that they did in the war, and how he became a Christian because of needing to get rid of that guilt. And it was a big part of it anyway. And so he has a neat story about war. And I would talk about Jacob DeShazer and some other, D.L. Moody, some of these other Christians who did not believe in going to war and killing people. But that didn't seem to influence her a whole lot, and she still had this on her mind. So one time Joanna had her over, and she was at our house. We spent some time together. And she's just very pleasant to be around all the time. But on the way home, we drove her home, and we got to share some of our reasons why we wouldn't want Joanna to be in the military, and why we would encourage her not to. Some of our reasons are that Jesus taught us to love our enemies, to turn the other cheek. He didn't let Peter cut the ear off. He didn't let Peter use his sword. Peter cut that guy ear off when they were coming for Jesus, and Jesus healed it. He put it back on. He didn't say, "Hey, go guys, go get your swords and let's fight." He did not fight for an earthly kingdom, and that's why some people didn't recognize him, and they were disappointed at him because they had to be a king like King David. But he was working for a heavenly kingdom, which was different, and he never told us to fight for a country or an earthly kingdom. We told about a friend that we had in Bible school who realized if God told him to be a missionary to Sri Lanka or some country, what if he was in the military and he had gone there, or let's say to Russia, and he was fighting and killing them, and then God told him to be a missionary and he was working to save their souls? He saw that was just opposite, just working defeating the whole purpose. So why would he go kill people for the military and then be a missionary to go save their souls? Like it just doesn't make any sense, right? Jesus' kingdom is not of this world. It's a heavenly kingdom. And there are many examples of Christians down through the ages. Like I mentioned, D.L. Moody, he was a chaplain in the Civil War, and he became a chaplain for both sides. And he would go from the north to the south. He wanted everyone to know Jesus. That was his purpose. And there's a lot of other examples. I really like the story of Jacob DeShazer because he was one of the Doolittle Raiders that in the very beginning of World War II was captured after a flight over Japan. He was captured in China by the Japanese, and so he spent pretty much the whole duration of the war in Japanese prison camp. A lot of his friends died, but he made it out alive. But in prison, he started reading the Bible. He became a Christian. Afterwards, he came back to the States, went to Bible school, and then he went as a missionary back to Japan. And he actually toured Japan with one of the Japanese generals from the war. And it's just an amazing story of forgiveness for enemies and caring about people's souls, not killing their bodies, and just seeing how killing in war is wrong. So many Christians down through the ages have taken this stance of, I'm not going to kill another human being. And so we talked with A about that, and she actually listened and changed her mind. She wrote us a letter that we got this week, and we were so blessed and excited. And she made us a poster that says, "Vengeance is mine, says the Lord." And I think that's another verse we talked about with her. I can't remember the whole conversation, but just, letting God repay evil. He promises vengeance is his. He's going to repay. We don't need to. He will take care of it. So we're excited to hear that she's changed her mind. We're excited to see what God's going to do in her life. So just wanted to share that story with you.